Welcome to a shape-shifting new episode of the Demonic Compendium, the show where I discuss the mythology, design, and game history of your favorite Megami Tensei demons. Now that Persona 3 Reload is out, I wanted to take a look at a demon where there's more than meets the eye. So watch your neck and double check how many legs you have, because today, we're talking about Empusa. Empusa was once a singular figure in Greek mythology, and was a lesser-known goddess who served Hecate, or was sometimes said to be the daughter of Hecate, or was sometimes said to be Hecate herself. Though, much like certain other figures like Lamia, mythology soon turned this seemingly solitary being into a broader species of multiple demons. Empusas are essentially the Greek version of a vampire or succubus, much like the Lilim of Judeo-Christian lore or the Yakshini of Hindu myth. They attempt to seduce handsome young men and drain them of their blood and eat their flesh. One of the most commonly recorded aspects of the Empusa is their ability to shapeshift. They may sometimes appear as a hound, or a donkey, or a beautiful woman. In many situations, the Empusa's legs are what will give them away, as in some stories they'll still have a donkey leg when disguised as a human, or a leg made out of brass, or in one particular situation with Dionysus, they apparently had a leg just made out of cow crap. Some travelers claim that when seeing an Empusa before it noticed them, the beast would actually have several legs, far beyond the normal amount. Empusa's compendium entry from Persona 3 Portable refers to her as a vampire of Greek myth known to serve the goddess Hecate. She appears as a beautiful woman, but her true form is an evil spirit that drains men's energy. They feed on human flesh. Design-wise, here's where things actually get a little interesting. Kaneko's Empusa design is solid and incorporates many aspects of her shapeshifting abilities. She has the face and breasts of a beautiful woman, a scaly body, the front legs of a dog, the hind legs of a donkey, and a horse-like tail. Kaneko even gave her brass earrings as a potential nod to that part of her myth, which I really liked seeing. However, while the design is impressive, it's ripped almost beat for beat from Edward Topsell's design in his The History of Four-Legged Beast text from the 1600s. While it's not unusual for Kaneko to base demons off of historical artworks, the design in question actually comes from Topsell's section on the Lamia. But his text about the Lamia also directly ties and connects it to the mythology of the Empusa, as he wrote, Aristophanes affirmeth that he heard one day that he saw a great wild beast having several parts resembling outwardly an ox and inwardly a mule and a beautiful woman, which he called afterwards Empusa. When Apollonius and his companions traveled in a bright moonshine night, they saw a certain apparition of fairies, in Latin called Lamia, in Greek Empusa, changing themselves from one shape into another, being also sometimes visible, and presently vanishing out of sight again. So while preparing for the script, I was ready to be like, haha, he based the design on a Lamia, not an Empusa. But after actually reading some of the text for myself, and wrapping my brain around how we used to write S's as F's, I totally get why Kaneko used this design, and I think it works great for what this demon is supposed to be. As far as game history goes, Empusa has had a couple of small roles in the franchise. A pair of Empusas appear in the first dungeon in Digital Devil Saga as members of the Vanguards that attack the Empyreon to protect their leader, Harley. Given Empusa's role as a servant to Hecate, it makes sense that Hecate and Empusa have a special conversation in Shin Megami Tensei 9. As you can see, the game is in Japanese, but running the text through a translation app seems to be a pretty straightforward conversation that basically goes like, "Hey, Hecate, good to see ya," and Hecate like, "Oh yeah, how are you? Hey, if you're bored, come help me and this human," and then Empusa is like, "Yeah, okay," and then I think she talks about wanting to go do karaoke or something, and then she just joins you. One of Empusa's biggest roles actually comes from one of the first Megaten games that we ever had in the States. In Persona 2, Eternal Punishment, Empusa, known as Empusas in the original localization, appears as the first major boss fight in the clock tower atop Seven Sisters High, after being summoned by Joker alongside 2 Apep to kill Maya. Admittedly, Empusas isn't quite as impactful or interesting as the Innocent Sin counterpart to this fight, but it's still a pretty okay first boss, although in this version she's a bipedal figure with large wings over her usual design. And speaking of Persona, while this bit may purely be me speculating, I think it's worth mentioning that Empusa's master, Hecate, is Ann's ultimate persona in Persona 5. Hecate is known for having a lot of animals under her command, particularly dogs, which we clearly see in this Persona's design. While some tales state that one of her dogs is a transformed Queen Hecuba, it's possible that among her loyal hounds could be shape-shifted Empusas, meaning Empusa could potentially be part of this Persona's design, which is kind of an interesting thought. How often do I get to talk about a demon that's part of a Persona's design? But on to the biggest role and biggest peculiarity of this demon, Empusa was absent from the original Persona 3, but does appear in FES and Portable as a member of the Fortune Arcana. You can get the blue scale item that unlocks Empusa for fusion by completing Elizabeth's request to show her around Iwatodai Station. Unlocking Empusa is a reward that'll make you smile so wide your cheeks will fall off. Of course, in Portable, if you're playing as Korone, you can do this request with Theodore, but as we all know, he's absent from Persona 3 Reload. And speaking of things that are absent from Reload, guess who isn't in that game? That's right, Empusa. Well, unless of course you can count And there you have it, Empusa, the vivacious, voluptuous, versatile vampire vixen. Did I leave out something you thought was important? Was I just plain wrong about something? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know who you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes. That's going to do it for this episode of the Demonic Compendium, and I will see you next time. But be careful while you rest that a demon doesn't take over your body.